What are 10 mistakes to avoid as a freelancer in 2025? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel, or if you're a first-time watcher, thanks for clicking on the video. My name is Adrian. I'm a freelance German linguist. I provide language services, all sorts, to my clients, international clients, mostly in Europe. I've been working as a freelancer for many years now. It's my 9th year now, which is crazy. I remember very well when I started. I never thought, I guess I thought I would still be doing it 9 years later, but definitely didn't think I would make a video about it. I have made my fair share of mistakes, definitely, and that's why I feel confident enough and competent enough to make a video about 10 mistakes that you're probably making in 2025 as a freelancer. Of course, that's very inflammatory. I don't actually think you are making these mistakes, but it's 10 mistakes that I've made over the years that I see people still making and can very easily happen when you are not focused, when you kind of sit back and just let, life happen and the business happen. So I'm a very big proponent of always staying on track whenever you can, if you have the energy. I know sometimes it's hard. End of last year, I just, was in like survival mode and just did everything while life was just passing by. But I always use the new year to kind of reset and get back on track and be on top of things. So I really try my best to not make these 10 mistakes. Let's get right into it. Mistake number 1, underselling yourself. No, not knowing your worth. Now, I recently just had a conversation with someone that was really eye-opening. She said that the word don't, if you tell someone don't do that, it basically gets deleted by our brain. We don't even listen to it. So if she said, don't think of a pink elephant, it's exactly what you're doing, right? So I'm not going to frame all these sentences in like, don't do that, don't do that. So I'd rather give you advice what you can do, what you should do instead. So underselling yourself is a bad point to start. Oftentimes we don't really know what we are worth when we start out, because we just look at the average salaries in our country, or on Probst.com, we look up our language combination, and the average salary or the average rate per word is what we go for, or even undercut ourselves. But that's not the way to go. What you want to do is calculate a rate that is representative of your skills, of your expertise, of your worth as well. I often talk to people that kind of are almost too humble in a way. Like it's has nothing to do with being humble if you want to charge more, or if you charge as the rate of an expert, right? I just always compare it to other services in the world where you just get a quote and you just have to pay it because that's what it costs. So I don't see the point of like underselling yourself or negotiating a lower rate, participating in the race to the bottom, just because we work in a sector that is not regulated, right? And if someone doesn't want to work with me, I move on. I see it as fair enough. You get what you pay for. Go for that quality. I can't provide that, and I don't want to provide that. So especially if you have a training as a translator or as a language professional, or in any other trade, if you're a freelancer in another sector, never undersell yourself, because those years of education is what people pay for, right? They don't pay for the half-hour work that you do. They pay for the years of experience, the years of knowledge, the years of expertise, reading, practicing your crafts that goes into it. So that's why half an hour of work is not going to be paid half an hour of actual labor, but a lot comes with that, right? So keep that in mind. Number 2 of mistakes that people still make is generic emailing or generic signups that are very cold, right? No information, no pre-contact to the agency or the company, no contact person contacted prior to that. So that's definitely not the way to go. Cold emailing can work in a way that it's a bit less cold than ice cold. So what I mean by that is like lukewarm emailing. If you actually research the company, you know what they're doing, you know who works there, maybe you reach out or you connect with someone on LinkedIn first, find a common connection, find a common ground, find who is in charge of localization of languages, whatever your service is, and then reach out to them with a tailored cold email, not a generic one that you send to thousands of agencies. The same goes with signing up to agencies. It's a good way to get your name out there in the pool, but it's very unlikely that they will actually reach out to you, right? So if you if you sign up on an agency platform in their pool, I would always send also at the same time an email or call them, say that you registered, if there's something else they need, what you can do, if you can do a test translation for them. Just do a bit more than just signing up for the platform, because people do that, probably 1,000 people do that a day, right? That's not going to stand out. Mistake number 3, no expert knowledge. What I mean by that, on the one hand, is specialization. So if someone is a generalist, it's much harder nowadays to work as a generalist than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Nowadays, I feel like you need to be the expert, and even within your field, you need to like stand out and go always niche. That's one thing, so definitely work on that and never finish learning. Always learn more about your field, become really the expert in that, and also exude that, like show that to the world on LinkedIn that you are the person to talk to in that language about this topic. But what I also mean by that, the lack of expert knowledge, is not accepting any jobs that you're not qualified for. And that can really be tough, right? In the beginning, you try to just accept everything because you need to pay your bills. And I'm guilty of that. I did that definitely. And I paid my price for it. I took on some things that were, not life-threatening, but really like I was not qualified at all to do it. And some of it like went under the radar. Maybe the client was kind of satisfied, couldn't really check if the quality was good enough, but in other cases it has really come back to me in a bad way, and the client was very unhappy. I lost clients over that, so be careful with that, be mindful of it. I know it will happen probably in the beginning, so sometimes you also don't know if you're qualified or not, to be honest. Like it has happened that I accepted a job and I thought, yeah, I can do that, and only then I realized what amount of research has to go into it. And maybe there were instances when I still delivered a good job, but it took me so much time because I was not qualified and I had to do the extra research that it was a minus business in the end. I spent way too much time for the money I earned. So just be careful, always ask for the files up front to make sure you can do a first check if you're qualified for it. Next mistake, ignoring self-care. Can't stress this enough. It's super important that you take care of yourself, especially in the beginning with all the motivation and all the drive to make this business happen. You just sometimes forget time. You work 12 hours, you work in the night, you work weekends, and it will not ruin you in the moment, but it can ruin you down the line. For me, it definitely was. I started in 16 and I had a complete breakdown in 18. So it took me 2 years of overworking myself to actually feel the negative physical effects. But then it's also like how do you say in English, a vicious cycle, because I kind of needed these 2 years to establish myself as well, right? So it had to happen, but it was not good for me. But then luckily early enough, I managed to turn it around. And even nowadays I still struggle a lot with, or not a lot, but I have it quite under control, but I still struggle with maintaining my mental health, maintaining my boundaries between work and life. It's easier nowadays for me as it was in the beginning, simply also because I don't have the energy to overwork myself. My body notices very early the signs of too much or of stress, so I know how to limit myself. And I'm now in a position where I don't actually work that much, right? I probably work like 6 hours a day or something, and that's very nice. I feel very lucky that I can do that and still earn what I want to earn. So take care of yourself, walk around a lot, do a lot of sports, stretching, eat whole foods, do yoga, do mindfulness, learn to say no, learn when it's enough. Which leads me to the next point, actually, perfectionism. Especially in the beginning, perfectionism is your enemy, right? You don't want to deliver something to the client that's not good enough, I understand. But by having perfectionism and always want to do it more and more, and I will sleep again over this translation and then change something in the morning, you spend way too much time, right? In the end, that's a business. You have a certain amount of time to do the job, to make a good living. If you spend way more, theoretically you can spend as long as you want if you can still meet the deadline. But if you're gonna earn 150 euros for a job and you spend 2 days on it, for me that's very bad, right? That's like something like 10-12 euros per hour. I can't afford that. I don't want to earn that, especially then there's taxes and social security and stuff, so you're looking at like 6 euros an hour. I'd rather just stay in bed for that. So you have to limit yourself. Sometimes good enough is enough, and you're good enough just has to be high enough. So I don't know if that makes sense, Like for me, I know that my good enough is still good and still better than most people's translation. So sometimes when I'm under pressure, I just know that, okay, this is good enough to deliver, and good enough to deliver is a high standard for me, right? That's not, oh yeah, this is good enough. I don't think it's that good, but let's see. Good enough to deliver is satisfactory to the client, let's say it that way. Mistake number, where are we? 6, I think. Not asking enough questions. Context is everything in translation. You need to ask questions, and if your client is not accepting that, they don't have no idea what they're even talking about, right? Sometimes I hear people saying, oh, I can't really ask my client questions. They don't like it. Horrible, right? So many times I need to ask the simplest questions. It starts with like, who is the target audience? Who is going to read that? Is it for men? Is it for women? Is it for kids? Do I address them in the formal form of address or in the informal one? Is it for Switzerland? Is it for Germany? Is it for Austria? Is it for experts? Is it for lay people? All of this needs to be in your brief originally, ideally, but if mostly it's not, so you have to ask it back. And then also like subject matter questions. So it comes up all the time that, I don't understand the source text, maybe it's poorly written, maybe I simply don't know. With abbreviations, this often happens, that it's an abbreviation that I just don't know. So I rather ask the client, should I keep this abbreviation DNT as do not translate? So it stays the same in the target language, or do you have a translation? Should I come up with one? Is there an existing one, etc.? There is never too many questions. And if you run out of time and you need to deliver, you can always ask questions in comments, so the client still has time to either ask the end client, ask the person that is in charge of this text before it goes out. Next mistake, not asking for feedback. That goes both for translation, but also for general inquiries about your website, about your marketing efforts, about resources that you can take to learn about translation. Ask around, right? People write me all the time on LinkedIn, do you think this is a good course? Can you check my website? Can you check my business card? Can you review my German translation? If I have time, I will always do that. And people are helpful in the industry, so definitely ask for feedback. But then also, once you started working, ask for feedback from your clients. Because what often happens is that you only get the negative feedback and never the positive one or the neutral one. No feedback is good feedback, but I don't really agree with that, because you need to learn, you need to know, like, it probably rarely happens that your translation goes out just as is, as you delivered. They usually make some changes at the client, but you will never hear about them unless you actually go see where the text was published to learn about it. But it's super important for me, and I just start working now in 2025 with a new client. We just finished the testing phase, and they gave me amazing feedback on everything I deliver, right? And it's so useful. And they don't say because it's bad. They say, we're very happy with your translation. Here is how we actually delivered it in the end. Keep the improvements in mind for future references. And that helps so much, because I can note everything down that they tell me, and in the future I don't make these mistakes like these stylistic choices again, so I can adapt my TM for this client, my tone of voice, my glossary, etc. Ask for feedback, it really helps a lot. And also ask for ratings, for references on LinkedIn, for example, or for your website. If you work for a long time with a client, just ask them, hey, I'm working on building up my profile. Can you maybe write a reference for me, or can you give me a rating out of 5 stars? That would help a lot. Next mistake, inconsistency. By that, there is a lot in that category. It comes with translation. So inconsistent translation to the same client is very bad, because they trust you. So they trust that you keep the level, the tone, the style, etc. on the same level throughout the collaboration. But also inconsistency in like replying emails, for example. Sometimes you reply within the hour, sometimes it takes you 3 days. That's not good. Inconsistency within marketing, like with this channel, for example. I really want to be consistent and make a video every Monday, because consistency builds trust. It makes people trust you. They see you as a credible source. So if your marketing efforts are all over the place, suddenly you make one YouTube video, then you do cold emailing, you do LinkedIn posts, and etc. Nothing is coherent. That's not going to work. You need a coherent strategy that sticks in people's mind, right? Inconsistency also has to do with not telling people when you're available, so that the customers can trust you, right? In my email signature, I always have my upcoming holidays in there, so they know already when I will be absent next. But if you are 1 week you're here, 1 week you're not here, just Friday I'm not working, etc. Feel free to take days off as much as you want, but be consistent in how you approach the publication of this news. Next up, where are we? We have 2 more, I think. Yes, I have 1, not developing your skills. That's very easy. I think I already referenced to it. If you are specialized in a sector, polish your skills in that area, learn everything you can about it, do continuous professional development every month about this topic, and simultaneously polish your language skills. These are the 2 things you need to work on consistently, because these are your working tools. And the last mistakes that freelancers make in 2025 is being stuck in a box. You don't need to only do one thing. That's the main thing I always preach on this channel. You can do as much as you want. This is the reason why you're not employed, why you do this on your own, right? You're free to do whatever you want. That's why I do these videos. That's why I do language consultancy. That's why I do subtitling, translation, proofreading. That's why I do lecturing, tutoring. That's why I do post editing. That's why I do voiceover. That's why I sometimes sit in like recording studios where they record Swiss German advertisements and dialogues to make sure that it fits the locale. Everything language related is within my scope. I don't limit myself at all, right? Of course, I understand that some people want to do one thing and limit themselves, but that's their choice, right? What I mean by stuck in a box is thinking that you can only do one thing because society tells you so, because that's your job. No. If you decide to work on your own, you have to do everything yourself. And that can be either scary or very liberating. For me, it's liberating because I can do whatever I want every morning. So I really enjoy that. There you go, 10 mistakes to avoid in 2025 as a freelancer. Good luck with your journey. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I see you next Monday. Bye bye.